Are you trying to decide between a KTM TPI and TBI bike? Look no further. In this episode, we'll take a closer look at two popular fuel injection systems found on KTM motorcycles, TPI and TBI. You've probably heard these terms before if you're a fan of KTM motorcycles. But what do they actually mean, and how do they compare? That is what we are here to discover. KTM is an Austrian motorcycle manufacturer with a global reputation. They have a long history of producing high-performance dirt bikes, street bikes, and adventure bikes. In this video, we'll go over the differences between TPI and TBI, as well as the advantages and disadvantages of each system. Based on your specific needs and preferences, we'll also advise you on which system might be the best fit for you. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the world of KTM fuel injection systems. TPI and TBI are two types of fuel injection systems found on KTM motorcycles. If you're not familiar with fuel injection, it's a system that uses electronic controls to deliver fuel to the engine. Unlike traditional carbureted systems, which use mechanical components to mix fuel and air and deliver it to the engine, this system does not use mechanical components. Fuel injection systems outperform carbureted systems in terms of fuel efficiency, performance, and emissions. Fuel injection is also typically easier to maintain because it has fewer components that can wear out or require adjustment. So, what's the difference between TPI and TBI? TPI stands for transfer port injection, while TBI stands for throttle body injection. These two systems have different designs and operate in different ways, and each has its own set of advantages and disadvantages. Fuel is delivered directly to the transfer ports on the side of the cylinder in a TPI system. This allows for more precise control of fuel delivery, which can lead to improved performance and fuel efficiency. On the other hand, a TBI system uses a fuel injection and throttle body to deliver fuel to the engine. The TBI system certainly consumes more fuel and creates more gases, which is not acceptable in the EU for emissions. But it has its advantages. We'll take a closer look at the pros and cons of each system and help you decide which one might work best for you. Ultimately, the choice between TPI and TBI will depend on your specific needs and preferences. If you're looking for a system that provides excellent performance and fuel efficiency, TPI might be the way to go. However, if you want an engine for hard enduro with feel of carburetor, TBI could be the better choice. Because I ride hard enduro, I have to admit that I prefer the carburetor feel. It uses more fuel, but it also provides more traction on the tire, which is critical in bad weather. And the big advantage of TBI over TPI is that you get rid of the oil pump. That's very important to me because you can use premix fuel and you have a much safer engine. The oil pump can stop working on the TPI model, which can cause a very large and expensive problem inside the engine. Before we continue with the comparison of TPI and TBI systems, I must say that the TPI system has improved a lot over the last few years. The first year when it was put on the market it had many problems. The engine heated up a lot even though it was freezing outside, and the feeling while driving the TPI was as if it had a lean mixture of fuel. So keep in mind that the TBI has just come out and that it probably has many problems that will only become apparent with time, and that it is the second generation of electric fuel injection engines that KTM made. So I think it's difficult to make a correct comparison now, because TBI is something new, while TPI has already been tested and improved a lot. Also, when we already mentioned problems, I have to say that I had a lot of problems with my first model of TPI, which I bought in 2018. The first problem was that the engine got very hot in short time, and in difficult terrain it overheated. The fan was not able to cool it down. This led to that at 50 hours I had to change the piston. But the problems did not end there. The bike even went in reverse sometimes, which was funny but also disappointing. You start the engine, and you want to go forward, but it actually goes backwards. But fortunately, after 2 months, KTM made new maps and those problems disappeared. Not all of them, but the main problem with the overheating and the engine going into reverse, that was solved. I want to tell you that TBI is in that position now. It just came out and it is normal that there will be problems and that everything will not work perfectly as KTM says. So be prepared for some problems. They can be small but they can also be big. No one knows that yet. Just remember that every new system brings advantages and disadvantages. Keep in mind we do not yet know all the disadvantages of TBI, so be understanding about that. I have to return to the topic for which you came to the video. It's not the problems, but what is the difference between TPI and TBI? The big advantage of the TBI system is that you no longer have to worry about whether the oil pump will stop working and cause a major breakdown in your engine. TBI also comes with an electric power valve that enables better engine operation. You must be wondering why and how. Simply, at TPI we had electric fuel injection into the cylinder, but a mechanical power valve, and it is difficult to make such a type of power valve follow the electric fuel injection. There are always small deviations. Do you remember how before you could adjust the power valve on the carburetors, which would change the throttle response and engine power? And the engine would always work very well even with a different power, while it was not like that on the TPI. You could adjust the power valve on it, but sometimes the engine would start to stall and work badly because it was not matched with the amount of fuel what was delivered by injectors. I think that TBI is something very good. We will get the feeling of a carburetor, and what is important for many riders, they do not need do jetting like on the carburetor model, which make enduro riding more easy. If you could choose between TBI and carburetor, I would say TBI. It is more complicated and expensive, but it is easier to ride because it always works as it should. You don't have to think about jetting when the weather gets colder or hotter. Just go on the bike and keep wide open. I talked with many riders who rode TBI, so we compared it with TPI. Everyone is amazed with the engine's response and performance. Everyone mentioned that they felt like the TBI had more power than the TPI in the top end, but that they felt that the TPI was stronger in the bottom end. What's a little strange, is it just a feeling or is it real? We need to do detailed tests on it. My opinion is that it's mostly a feeling because there is an electric power valve, same as Sherco has. At low revs the power is so gentle and controllable that you have the feeling that you have less power, but in fact it is not so. I think this is a new level 2-stroke engine for enduro. It is very different from others' engines, like Beta and Sherco, and I'm glad that KTM is trying to keep 2-stroke motorcycles alive. It's not an easy job, but they are literally the only ones who are constantly involved in the development and passing of advanced technologies, while the others mostly focused on 4 strokes. Of course, Sherco and Beta are very good, but they still stick to carburetors. But I also support it because carb has proven to be reliable and safe. You don't have so many electronics and sensors that can break down, and production is also cheaper. If you can buy a motorcycle and ride it right away, it's a double win situation, as I would say win-win. Because with a carburetor you still have to go through the jetting procedure for your altitude and temperature. To be honest, the TPI was very good and could be ridden right away, but it had a lot of small problems and it was necessary to adjust the idle screw to make the engine work much nicer. So we cannot say that TPI immediately works perfectly. Whether TBI will be much better than TPI, we will see. I like when a motorcycle is tested for 100 hours and then a comparison is made. While the bikes are new and everything works, it is very difficult to say which motorcycle is better because I also look at durability, and not just how it goes and which one is faster on trail. TBI has a few flaws and bad designs. I will make a video about it soon. If you want to know, subscribe to the channel.